are the true people of his, that are his people, because they didn't go that route that Israel did. And you got to get a distinction then between the true Jew or Judean and the Israelite that's literally been set aside. And you can use the term divorced, and you'll get letters, and they'll tell you not to have me on again, but they have literally been set aside by God and are no longer his chosen people. So there is a false claim there, and that is because they want to get the world to believe in the Zionist political agenda, and it's not political. It is spiritual, and Judah is still in line, though it's only a remnant, and we who believe and are under the blood of Christ are the new Israel, the new Jerusalem, the new Jew for real. And I'll leave it at that, because I can go on for an hour.
Well, I don't have, I've had Christian identity people in, and I have some reservations about some of their beliefs, because to me, Jesus was talking straight to me and you when he said, you can do what I do and more.
Absolutely.
And I take that to mean that God is inside us. God is our creator. God is, and people have asked me, well, don't you fear God? And I said, why would I fear my Father? Why would I fear my Father? I'm doing his work. I ain't doing nothing wrong. And I also, here's another little chance for you to jump in here. I don't believe in the original sin. I believe when we're born, we know good from evil. I believe God's in our hearts when we're children. As he said, God said, I knew you before you were born. So,
original sin is a religiosity lie.
Yes.
God did not create that which is inherently evil or imperfect. He created man perfect, and it's not something that's hereditary that we're born into sin. That is a religiosity lie that's been perpetuated by most of what my people call the nominal church nowadays.
They want you to be, to me, believing in Jesus, believing in God is a empowerment. It empowers me to know that I can do what Jesus did and more. To know the truth will set you free. That's empowering me. So,
you got to stop there.
Okay.
If I'm empowered, then you can't control me.
That's it. Yes, sir. That I'm empowered. I am free. People have asked me, well, how come we never see you in church, Clay? I said, because every time I open that door and walk out of my house, I'm in church.
Amen.
God gave me this planet. God gave me all the herbs here. This is, I think medical marijuana is a step in the right direction. A small step for man. But why should I go to a doctor to get a prescription for something God gave me?
Amen.
That's like putting a preacher between me and God. That's like putting a priest between me and God. I'll read the Bible myself, thank you, Father. I don't need to hear your translation.
You need an honest pastor once in a while, as preacher, for the parts you don't get, because you're talking about the mind of God. But the problem with religiosity is it promotes the idea that I don't have to study my books for myself at home, which is against what he had planned. We're supposed to try to get a relationship one-on-one with him. So yes, you're absolutely correct.
Well, that's why you're my pastor. That's why you've started the Timothy Bible College. Because all this, we're talking science here. We're not talking religiosity.
Amen.
We're talking science. We're talking about, somebody said God is love. Well, what is love? Oh, that's your level of vibrational energy. And
I love that.
The higher the faster you vibrate, the more you understand, the more connection you got with God. And so you've raised your level of vibrational energy to where you can talk direct to God.
Amen.
And I see that in you all the time. I mean, even doing my radio show, some days I won't have any idea what I'm going to talk about. And then there it is on my screen here. This computer is a wonderful thing, and I believe now excuse me for going against the biblical a little bit. I just think burning bushes are passe in the 21st century. So God's alive and well on the internet, and that's what He talks to us with. He don't have to He don't have to burn the bush.
That kind of changed at the mountain when Moses went up the mountain to get the commandments, because when he came down, he had gone face to face with God, and it altered him. And so, maybe everybody doesn't look at that as clearly as they should.
That's right. Now, back to this public fool system. We've this last year we saw, and over the last 20 years, and this is why I started this Free American, this radio show, this magazine 20 years ago, because I didn't believe that the jackbooted thugs of the BATF had any right to go in there and kill 17 little children, kill their families, in a church that had been established in Elk City for 50 years. Might not go along with their form of religiosity, but by God, I would die to defend their right to believe what they want.
Amen.
That's the important thing about our Constitution. Doesn't matter how you want to worship God. If you want to get on your knees and stick your nose in the dirt and your ass up in the air, go right ahead, man. I'll try to shoot the Saint Bernard off of you. If you want to fly across the country to the Holy Land and bang your head against that Wailing Wall, knock yourself out, man. I'll watch.
Amen. Amen.
And I try to be fair in bashing religiosity and all of its menus. I said, if you want to get on your hands and knees and pray to God for a Cadillac, I'll put in a good word for you, so maybe you won't drop it on top of your ass. Might have to use you to do that, Jake. So sometimes you don't talk to me.
Right. I missed having your unique drift on things sometimes, because a lot of times you might through the people I don't, because I am rather stoically biblical, and I just won't veer from that. That's what I tell people. You've seen them come into our group and try to mess things up, but the problem is, and I tell any of them, you better do your homework, because I know the book, and I'm going to go to the book. If you don't like that book, maybe you don't need to be with our Bible study group. Go somewhere where they do something else. But if it's Bible study group and you want to come and challenge it, the author of it, then you better do your homework, because I have.
Right. And I rely on you for that. I appreciate your input here. It's, I've read it a few times, but maybe the fact I was in solitary confinement.
It helps. Jesus recommended that you get away from the world in order to properly read it, so that's not such a bad idea.
Well, it drove the assistant warden nuts. Frankly, it drove him nuts in there. I said, I told him, Warden, listen, man, I really appreciate you putting me in solitary. Give me this Bible here. Really haven't had a chance to read it out there in the field or out there on the farm, but got me kicked out of solitary, dude.
Well, You know, and I'm gonna say this, and it's not by way of embarrassing to you. It's actually a pat on your back. But Kay said to me, my wife said to me this morning. She said, you know, I am always awed by the circle of people that you're in, and they're so diverse, they're so different. But they all have the common thread of believing in the Bible and in the Lord, and they also have a little different. In other words, we can't be boxed or put in the same little unit. We are different, but the thing that I keep pointing out to people about Clay Douglas is, you know, the guy's heart's right. He speaks a little different, and his drum is a different rhythm, but we need him because he is part of the diversity that Jesus said to his diverse group of 12, y'all go do, and you just quoted this, y'all go do and do it better or more so than what I did. Well, how are you going to do that if everybody looks the same and acts the same and is the same? Then you're going to only be locked into that one little box that our leadership in this dictatorial country we live in would have us be.
Well, I appreciate that, and I kind of revel in it. You know, 40 years ago when I started the whole paraphernalia industry in Texas, when I was the first distributor for High Times here, I'd go to the park, and there'd be a bunch of hippies sitting around stringing beads and throwing frisbees, and you have a handful of football guys, jocks, come up, start harassing them. And me and some of my friends would walk up and say, hey, bud, we got long hair, we smoke dope. If I were you, I'd leave those hippies alone, or you're going to have to deal with us. So I had a lot of grateful hippies and a lot of pissed off jocks, and we stopped the war. You know, back in those days, I was selling peace symbols to Kmart, to 7-Eleven.
You talking about Vietnam?
Yes, sir.
Let me correct you. That was a police action. It never was fought as a war. That was our mistake.
And it was all based on a lie. The Gulf of Tonkin never happened.
Right. I think our people need to know that because it's not correctly put in the history books nowadays.
Well, to me, that is still a national tragedy. The fact that more of my brothers killed themselves after they got home than the Viet Cong killed.
I have counseled many, and it just devastated the very psyche of those people.
Well, we were over killing farmers, and we were over killing children that had never done anything. They were never a threat to us, Jake. And
there was no clear mandate as to why we were there.
And, well, it wasn't just Vietnam. I mean, the generation before us had to deal with Korea. Same thing.
But Butcher had it right.
Yes, sir. Well, this is education. We're talking about real history here. I mean, in my last few magazines, I published the words of General Patton. You know, he said we fought on the wrong side. and you know, I've the idea that we went and demonized all of these Germans. It was organized Jewry, the World Council of Jews that declared war against German people. Before Hitler done anything, but no war, nothing there. They declared a boycott. They declared with a full page ad in New York Times to try to stir us up.
That's not in the public school textbooks, you know. Does not appear in public school textbooks.
No, and of course Patton was killed for opening his mouth.
Well, he was right, and they got some of my wife called it, you know, I'll be kind, a kissing match between him and the sitting dictator of the time who was as wrong as he could be, you know, going to send the guy who's an expert to do a job, you let him do his job and take his recommendation.
Are you speaking of FDR, the guy that stole our gold?
It was his, the guy who followed them, Truman, that was the problem. He got his drawers all in a knot because Patton wouldn't submit to his authority, and should have listened to it. We wouldn't have had all this other stuff probably if MacArthur had been allowed to do what he thought he ought to do.
It's well, MacArthur, Truman was also part of another cover-up that people aren't aware of, and again, and you know, Jake, I think this is the way God works. I mean, I've wondered, my whole book, Mystery Babylon, which you've read, I've got the history of Operation Watchtower in there. And I was given that. I was handed that document by a Vietnam vet up in Sturgis while I was pushing my motorcycle magazine. I also got to, I was married to Janet for many years, and her mother married a guy by the name of Loy Conrad. And Loy Conrad was a Marine colonel that was given the responsibility for escorting the surviving alien from Roswell to Truman's office. I said, Loy, you want to come on my show and talk about that? And he said, no, I want to live.
Right?
He said, but you are really popular, Clay, out here. He said, after I stopped by your house and backed over your mailbox, two guys, blue pinstripe suits, showed up and said, what are you doing going over to see Clay Douglas? I said, what'd you tell him? He said, I told him I had to. You're my son-in-law. And a few months after that, they did kill him. So, you know, it's strange. I mean, this whole paraphernalia movement, this whole thing. Somebody was just talking about Jack Harrow. I've got Jack Harrow's book up, Emperor Wears No Clothes. I financed Jack Harrow while he was writing that book. And that's been the Bible of the whole marijuana reform movement. He did a wonderful job on it, excellent job, telling about the DuPonts, telling about Harry Anslinger, telling about Hearst getting that castle up in the California hills on the coast, you know, by demonizing hemp, by turning our most productive, what I think, and I believe that the Bible refers to marijuana, to cannabis, as the plant of renown. 10,000 products we make out of it. That's got to be a gift from God. And Jack Harrow used to tell me, if you were sent to a deserted island, you can only take one thing with you. What should you take? You should take a marijuana seed, a hemp seed. Because with that, you can grow your food, you can grow your paper, you can build your home out of it. You can build a Ford out of it. Henry Ford did.
Well, it's the herb concept is, as I said, it goes clear back to Genesis. We have a tendency, if we don't like things in this country, to make them illegal so that people can't use them and go around government control. And they're doing the same thing now. They're trying to do the same thing with water.
Yes, and that's also something. this kind of we should segue this back into the whole Liberty Village concept. You know, my concept of Liberty Village is having maybe a dozen people living around your front porch. You know, all of them working, all of them producing something of value, all of them growing their own, helping grow their own food, milking the goats. You know, herding the cattle up there. It's working together to rebuild the self-sufficient family farm, which, as Rich Kelly Hoskins said, was the foundation of every civilization. And up in Arlington, Texas, there was a group. That called the Garden of Eden, and they were growing their own food and feeding their neighbors, and doing it just fine, doing great at it. Healthy, genetically, non-genetically modified food. And the jackbooted thugs came in and stepped on their tomato plants, handcuffed them, searched the place, nothing there. And just intimidation, just something to try to frighten them for what? Growing food in their yard? And I've talked about the Liberty Village plan with a number of my guests and said, look, if you can do it in your 1 square block in Austin and San Antonio, go around to your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, say, look, how'd you like to be a part of a co-op? How'd you like to save money on your coffee, your sugar, and grow your own food? If you can't grow and you don't have the time to grow, hey, you got a neighbor over here. They'll be glad to come in and do the planting for you and do the harvesting for you and sharing the crop. It's called a cooperative. They've used them in Europe for hundreds of years or thousands of years. It's a good plan. In Oklahoma right now, they've got the Oklahoma Food Cooperative. Google it. And you can join this cooperative and you can get your food straight from the farmer. No middlemen. You don't have to pay for gasoline to transport it. You meet at the courthouse on Saturday and pick up your order, pick up your food. It works in Oklahoma. It should work here. It should work in every county across America. I think we need to rebuild Christian community, Christian cooperation in a truly Christian manner. And I think that, to me, that's what I envision with Liberty Villages. You know, if it doesn't matter if it's a neighborhood, don't care what bedroom they sleep in, you know, but the kids are to be out there playing in the yard. The kids are to be taught how to weed the garden, how to take care of the plants in the proper way. Kind of a home ec course at home. And this is one of the things that Timothy Bible College is teaching. Farming and ranching.
Right.
Do it in your own. Where did this neighborhood come from? Where did that neighborhood come from? You had that house in San Antonio. Where did that come from? Wasn't it built on a farm? Wasn't it built on a ranch? Wasn't it built on a pasture that you used to herd the cattle in? Why can't we restore that? Why can't we do it block by block? If we grow our own food, generate our own energy, and that's another subject that we should talk about, because you can, Henry Ford designed that Model T to run on alcohol. John D. Rockefeller paid the Women's Temperance League to protest against it. And so we stopped farmers from growing fuel for their Model Ts and turned them into bootleggers, turned them into criminals. And if you grow a pot plant in your backyard, suddenly you're a criminal. They made me into a criminal If you go for a jury, Clay, you can get 99 years. We can get you 7 for marijuana. They did it to the farmers here. They did it to they stopped us from growing alcohol, and you could produce alcohol in your bathtub and run your cars on it and tell the oil companies to take a hike if we work together.
Discover what's really going on in the news that mainstream media won't tell you. Are you frustrated with your elected politicians? Get the news behind the news at truthradio.com. At Truth Radio, you can listen live or listen to a large selection of archived programs on demand. Listen when you want to. Truthradio.com. The truth is out there. All you have to do is open your mind and listen.
All right, one of my stations there. But, you know, we've also found out here, I tried to stay on top of the news, and several years ago, they started doing this, built a pilot plant in New Mexico. They strung tubes up, filled them with water, and pumped them in, and they were clear plastic tubes, so they got a lot of sunlight. They grew algae. You could run a plastic tube around your property, around your thing a couple of times, pump it through there, and get an algae grows faster than corn, grows faster than wheat, and you can turn that into biodiesel. You can turn that into fuel. Paul Pantone builds the Geet carburetor, and hell, you can run Pepsi through there, you know, and you can run a gasoline motor with a Geet carburetor on almost anything. You can run a diesel truck on algae. We can grow it ourselves. We don't need these oil companies. We certainly don't need the Monsantos out there, the Archer Daniels Midlands. You know, it's kind of frustrating to me, Jake. You've got the knowledge. You know how to do this. You teach it. You can teach people here. They can sign up for a college course. And if more people were signing up for your courses in the Little Red Schoolhouse and the Timothy Bible College, we wouldn't have any Columbines. We wouldn't have any Sandy Hooks. We wouldn't have any murders in these colleges. Because everybody in school would be armed. In your home, you'd be armed. Nobody's going to come into your home and shoot your children.
You know what's interesting in our schools, in the little brick and mortar ones that we still have quite a few of them going. I think you visited the one in Yoakum with me. He's got a waiting list a mile long right now because those people are realizing that what the public system is offering is just erroneous and false. But I don't recall any of the schools that we started, I think we had 18 altogether, ever having a violence problem other than a couple of kids getting in a fight. We certainly didn't need guns and badges in the hallways to prevent it.
And they weren't drugged either. The children aren't being drugged. There's not, you know, I get to thinking about this. You know, even my mother and grandmother, my grandmother took care of me, helped raise me. But she was victimized. She and my mother were victimized by these doctors, by these pharmacies.
Well,
They were made into drug addicts. I mean,
That's right.
I thought my grandmother was just feeble until I took one of her little red sleeping pills. Woo, Granny.
Right.
We call these reds in the biker community, Granny.
Yep.
But to have all of this knowledge, to have this ability here, just to be able to read. I mean, it's my grandfather taught me to read. I could read almost 1,000 words a minute in the first grade, no problem. And even my sons, who I taught after, they kept the motorcycle magazine going after my accident. And I said, "How'd you do that? I never taught you how to do this." They said, "We figured it out, Dad. We just figured it out. We learned." I said, "Well, that's a good thing, because that's the way I learned. That's the way I learned to do the layout. That's the way I learned to do the magazines." And I'm still doing the magazines.
And they watch you do it.
What's that?
And they watch you do it, which is old school.
Yes, sir.
We used to have an apprenticeship program where you took and followed somebody who knew how to do the trade, and they became, as an apprentice, then a journeyman, because they had learned the trade by watching somebody do it that knew how to do it.
Now, somebody asked me on the chat. Somebody asked me on the chat room, Jake. They said, I said, we were talking about the seed-bearing plants and all that, and they said, Toga, who's from Canada, said, "How can we properly define Christian when there are thousands of denominations and differences in interpretations?" I thought you might like to answer that.
I would love to. If they would go to the book of Peter, Peter said this is not open to private interpretation. The bottom line is that Jesus in John 14:6 said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I'm the life, and nobody gets in without going through me." Well, if you start there and you get a group of people together that can agree on that, then you can go from there and say, well, we are in unity, we do agree. Maybe it applies to me a little different. Maybe I need to listen to his teaching on this or his teaching on that, because we are not all the same. We're not supposed to be. We are diverse. He said, "I'm a respecter of persons," which means I didn't make everybody the same, and one set of approaches to life isn't going to match everybody. But he said, he didn't get preachers as his disciples. He got a tax collector. He got people that were getting over on other folks. He got foul-mouthed fishermen. He even got a guy who was greedy and prideful in Judas. He took those people to be his 12 disciples. And if we go by his example, you got it. We are not intended to be clones one of another, but to just follow his example in how to deal. It's the whole commandment thing. There's 613 of them. They are predominantly not designed to be a penal system, but to be a direction system for handling relationships. And I'll leave it there. You got me started preaching now.
Well, you got your church is a perfect example. You got a guy in your church that will stand up and tell disruptive people to shut the hell up.
Right? I know it is, too.
Take your alien bullshit outside, man. We don't need to hear it in this preacher, in this sermon here.
It was a Bible study he came to? We're going to do Bible.
No, that was an Austin Truth Seekers, and he got into that and messed it up so much I wouldn't even go back. Joe, another one of your pastors, wouldn't even go back there.
And that person has infected it so that it in some form of disruption that right now. And that, our colleague Mark is a bit distraught about that. He's trying to figure some way to fix it.
Well, I told him before I left. I told him, here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take over what you've run for the last 10 years. They're trying to take it over.
That's right.
They want to. Well, we need to make it. We need to make it into a 501c3. You don't need to make it into a 501c3 unless you're making any money. You're not making any money, so there's no reason to do that. The only reason you want to do that is because you think that'll give you some kind of control over it. Now, this is
thing. Clay, they did the same thing to me. They tried to take me over from within because I wasn't making enough money and I wasn't doing it the way they thought it ought to be done. So I had people I was trained to help me run the thing literally try to take it over. And you know what they do? They figure you're in the way, and with you in the way, we can't get it. So they literally tried to kill me physically, and they did everything they could to ruin my reputation. You call it vilifying. They vilified me to the hilt. And we're still here.
Yes, sir. That's what they do. I mean, this whole thing is, we had, and he kind of, this guy that we're talking about, he kind of sidled up to somebody that was upset with me because my grandmother's Jewish. My grandmother's Jewish. If she ain't trying to take over the world, she ain't trying to steal my money, she ain't part of it. She ain't part of the problem. I've told people they hide behind the Jewish people, and they'll sacrifice them as quickly as they'll sacrifice the Christians. Maybe even quicker. Maybe even quicker.
That is right. That is exactly right.
Frankly, I don't care who your grandmother slept with. Come on, guys. Really. What I want is good for everybody. I want something that's good for my children. I want ideas, I want processes that are good for my children, for my grandchildren, and for yours. The oldest warfare, the oldest.
Anybody out there listening?
I hope so. I got Rabbi Ted. He's listening.
Let me interject this because there's something that they may not know about you, and I do. Guys, this guy has a great heart. He is a patriot, and he is a Christian, and he walks his own walk. And I can tell you the reason most people don't understand is because you don't walk exactly like the guy next to you. And that's not a terrible thing.
No.
Because you have a great heart.
I don't care what color you are. I've tried to tell you this. I don't care what religion you are. First Amendment takes care of that. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what part of the world you came from. God created the universe. And to me, God is God is the force. And when scientists get down to analyze the smallest bit of matter, atoms, what holds an atom together?
Well,
it's either magic or God. Which one? Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah.
So it don't matter whether you're a witch doctor in the wilds of Africa that never seen a Bible, never heard of Jesus. You probably know how things work better than most of your preachers in the big churches.
Right.
And the American Indian is a good sample of that. This is why I still propose Liberty Villages built around the whole idea of an Indian village. Why do we have to I've talked to people, I've had people on my show that said I lived in a teepee in Alaska. I lived in a teepee in Alaska. I was pretty comfortable. I was warm at night. Had a nice fire going. And today you can put a little juice box, little unit with solar panels that unfolds. You can put that around the top of your teepee and you can power your computer, you can power your Skype, you can power your modem, you can power your cell phone, and you can do it in the middle of that field over there.
We better do it in a hurry before they come and knock on the door or on the PC and say you can't, because they're going to, if we don't get people out of, and it's a training program for our side, you got to make people realize that there is a good way to do this, and if they could look back to the beginnings of this country when the Indians showed the arrivals, well, and even won the battles with England for them, you know, if we could get back to that with honest history being taught. You're the history guy, but you know I'm right. If they would teach honest history, we might actually get the education process aimed back the right direction.
Well, if you taught honest history, you would find out that the Iroquois Indians are as responsible for our Constitution as Thomas Jefferson.
Amen.
We took it from the Iroquois Indians, and I've just had people on my show over the last week. I really recommend that you listen to all of my shows here that talked about the octagon. And it wasn't actually the octagon. It was a form of government, but it was very, very similar to the whole idea of the ton of ancient Israel. 10 families, 10 men running it. And
and it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was a gentleman wrote a book on it called The Titanians. Titanians.org. He wrote a book called Flourish, an alternative to government and other hierarchies. And this is Bob Podolsky. Had him on my show for the first time on Tuesday. And what a wonderful thinker. What a great man. And the great book, he's writing there, and it's endorsed by other people I've had on my show, like Clyde Cleveland, who did Thomas Caine's Common Sense Revisited. And
what a concept that is.
That's right. He refers to this 21st century AD. He talks about the power brokerage cartels that have trapped humanity in hierarchic or pyramid control models, and to keep humanity asleep. And if you're awake now, you know what we mean. The Borg uses a system of violence, mass hypnosis, indoctrination to perpetuate a system of non-truths and doublespeak known as comforting lies to perpetuate an omnipresent state. One that is at war with the individuals that comprise it. By keeping humanity asleep, the Borg state gets away with the outright killing of more than 200 million people in the 20th century. Just what we're talking about Armageddon being here. They murder 20,000 people per day through malnutrition, extreme poverty, and the outright fleecing of humanity, of individual creativity in a militaristic system of regulation, legal plunder, and taxation. And Titania is based on a code of honor that provides a set of unique principles for its mission and procedures. 20 years in the making, not something you've seen before. It's the dream of the Titanians founders that humanity will evolve into a moral society in which most, if not all, of humanity's problems will have been solved. Imagine living in such a world. Isn't living in that world what you always knew could exist and wanted to exist been your dream as well? Titania is a choice for you. Isn't it time we brought sanity back to humanity?
Amen.
And this is what we're talking about. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is my Liberty Village. I told him, I said, man, Bob, that's my Liberty Village concept right there. That's the Liberty Village concept, the community I want to be in when I retire, if I retire. I probably won't. I think I'm supposed to be retired now, but sure seems like I put a lot of hours in for being retired.
Amen.
But this concept is based on basically 8 people, you know, working in a sort of a pod. It's and then you work in larger pods, and that's what I've said about taking your block back. Just go talk to your neighbors. You don't need all the neighbors. Eight neighbors there, and suddenly you've got an organization. And
Clay,
he also said
the co-op word. That the thing that we're going to have to get across and re-educate people with is that, okay, Liberty Village sounds great and it'll make a good movie or a good book, but I don't want to give up my thing, and I have no skill, and I don't want to raise vegetables or cattle or whatever. And your concept, the idea of this, and going back to the Indian or whatever society had it working, is that I don't have to grow everything. I don't have to be a welder. I don't have to be able to fix my own vehicle, that sort of thing, because there are others in the group that can, and that's why diversification is so important, is that you do not get people that are all exactly the same mold sitting in the same box, but of one accord under the blood of the Creator to work together, like you say, as a unit or as a group, as a community, and help each other. I provide the vegetables, and Joe provides the meat, and
that's right.
Over here does the welding, that sort of thing.
And you know, it's strange, Jake, because that's the way I've always done things. I've always had people living around me, living with me. At one time in Dallas, I had a 40-room house. I turned 8 2-bedroom apartments into a 40-room house. I had shops downstairs.
You can't do it alone. We're not designed to do it totally alone. Nobody's going to an island and make it.
I can ride a Harley. I can make a Harley stand up and dance. I can get out there and put 500 miles on a Harley today and feel great about it. But I can't work on a damn thing, you know. I can't work on it. I need Randall Mock to fix it, you know.
Right.
Now this again, this thing here, and I'm really going to promote this because it embodies everything that we're talking about here. It embodies the church, the colleges. This is one part of it, just one part. You're the teacher. You've got the education here, and this is what he says here. Success in this endeavor requires massive education of the public using the ethical group known as the Octalog. Octalog. Now, I like this because basically you're taking a new word. You're taking a new word and putting it in the place of communism, of fascism, of democracy. We're Octalogs. We're talking about creating Octalogs that is scientifically designed to encourage feedback and boost creativity. We can use this technology to create the society we wish to live in. The larger version of the Octalog is known as the holomat. That is a group of Octalogs linked together. These holomats can also be linked together, making larger holomats. As Titanian citizens are trained to use the technology, the process starts growing. It builds on itself slowly at first, and then faster and faster. Being Octalogs grow at a factor of 8, and the participants experience increased creativity. It will grow at a rapid rate. Many holomats need to be filled to create a thriving society. And this is talking about a code of honor. It is, we're talking about the replacement of our hierarchic institutions with a new kind of institution known as an octologue that refutes the comforting liars and embraces the e-ethic. It's a Titanian goal of honor. It's a set of 4 simple affirmations containing the most prominent logical consequences of the Titanian ethic. These affirmations and a brief explanation of each are: we do no harm, we do good at every opportunity, the code always applies, no exceptions, everyone knows the code, and the definitions: if an act is good if it increases creativity or any of the logical equivalents for at least one person, including the person acting, without limiting or diminishing creativity for anyone. Logical equivalents of creativity include love, awareness, evolution, the availability of objectively true information to ethical persons, and possibly many other resources. The second set of creativity enhancing resources are sometimes necessary, often helpful, and never sufficient for the maximization of creativity. However, they are not logical equivalents of creativity, and their maximization in lieu of creativity can result in unethical outcomes. These resources include, but are not limited to, freedom, privacy, honesty, empathy, conscience, energy, wealth, profit, and even happiness. We never attempt to achieve ethical ends by unethical means. We never lie, except in self-defense, in which case lying may be mandatory. We never coerce, except in self-defense. We never steal, destroy, limit, or diminish anyone's physical, tangible, mental, intellectual, temporal, or emotional resources. We never invade another's privacy. We never excuse our own ethical lapses. We never destroy, limit, or avoid corrective feedback. We never attempt to deregulate authority that we do not possess as individuals. We never employ majority rule. How did Benjamin Franklin put that? 2 wolves and a sheep don't know what's for dinner. Term of democracy. And we never perform or act as a group in a way that would be unethical if performed by an individual. We never support, nurture, or augment the abilities of anyone whose actions are predatory, parasitic, or generally unethical, nor do we permit such acts when presented with a choice in the matter. We never obey rules, laws that forbid ethical behavior or require unethical behavior. We always seek to maximize creativity, love, awareness, personal evolution, and their logical equivalents above all else in every opportunity. You know, everything they're saying here, Jake, is what I hear you tell me in church. This is what I hear you tell me about the Bible. This is the way Jesus wanted us to live.
Amen.
And it goes on. This is all linked on my website. You should probably go there and research this.
I will.
Titanian, Titanian, the Open Source Ethical Society. You know, and by having these kind of people on my show, by having this kind of info, this guy is a physicist. He's a scientist. He was trained by his father. Huh?
Fancy that.
And you know, we've got the same ability. I mean, you can build. You've studied. You understand the Bible better than anybody I've ever met. And this is all part of it. This is why the Timothy Bible College and the Little Red Schoolhouse is part and parcel of the whole Liberty Village concept. It doesn't work without that. Without that knowledge, without that experience, without that training. And I want to address this too, because I have said, and I don't have it outlined as well as I would like to right now, but are these colleges that we're scraping and saving and spending to send our children to, I mean, maybe you can justify that if you want to teach them to be a doctor or a lawyer, but I am not very impressed with the doctors and lawyers out there. And Jesus wasn't either, was he? Not the lawyers.
I won't go to them. And I've got a whole bunch of college hours, and what it taught me to do was research and study. It did not. I have very little information from that went into my storehouse of my mind that I can use at a moment's notice that is beneficial. It's like they teach in the public school, I guess you call it teaching. They give them 4,200 dates to remember, and who needs that? Other than the fact that, if you have a timeline, it puts it in some kind of historical reference, but to memorize dates is not productive towards future use. What are you going to do with them? I got a computer. Let me put them in there, and I'll just bring it up when I need it.
That's a really strange to me, Jake. There were a few people in school that made higher grades than me. First 8 years, anyway. The first 8 years. The only thing they did was remember dates. I never remembered the dates. I never remembered the details. I can recite you almost verbatim, Robert A. Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land, I.C. Asimov's work. I can write just like John D. MacDonald, according to his lawyers, but I don't remember. Birthdays. I don't remember birthdays. It's like
everybody
clutter or something in
everybody
my mind.
is not designed by God to do exactly the same thing. Hello?
But if I could pick up the phone and call my ex-wife and she can give me everybody's birthday. And I'd rather do that than try to memorize it myself.
I'm the same way. But we're not designed to do the same thing. I don't want to do what you do. It is not in my calling. It's not in my makeup to go out and stand in the front of the, on the front line and sit hour after hour on the radio or on the TV and be the public persona that you are. I'm not, I don't care to have my picture taken. But I don't mind to get out in front of people and preach or teach, but I don't want to do what you do. So we need you in our group, in the mix, because somebody's got to do what you do.
Well, right now the potential is there. The drawback is I've got the same. You and I've got basically the same drawbacks. They came after us to stop us from making a profit and making a living at what we do. They've tried to stop that.
Oh yeah.
And if that situation was taken care of, if that situation was remedied, I could for $500 I could put a solar generator on the back of that Harley. I could make the proper moves if I had a fifth wheel, a truck full of fifth wheel with. I could take my whole office, I could take my whole home, I could take everything with me around the country and go to places and speak to people that don't know where this website is. We're still blocked in libraries. Matter of fact, I had one of my...
May I interrupt you a moment?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Instead of making it personal, let me give this to somebody too God may have put a philanthropist out there that believes in the cause and understands what you're saying. If you want to send me or Clay Douglas $1 million or $10 million or whatever, watch me and him and a few other of our people build these thinking villages to your local area, how you want them, and educate people and start this thing for real, where you can come by and see it in operation and realize this thing really works, and go from there. If you stuck some fuel in our tank, the engine would run.
Well, I had that. I thought I had that in New Mexico, in Bingham, New Mexico. I had 5 acres. I could have put and I actually had the money there for a second. I had the money to put the teepees on there, to put the yurts on there, and set up the restaurant. I had the money. But the people that I was supposed to be doing with it decided to kick me off of the property instead. So I ended up roving around, spending the money to get around, to go someplace else, to try to find someplace else to live where I couldn't do this. It's if I'd had the backing, just one person, we could have had this franchise. I could have offered this as a turnkey. Don't need much land. 5 acres would do with a well. I could have this as a turnkey business across the country. I would have been worth several $1 million in a very short time, because it don't take long to put up a teepee. Don't take long to put up a yurt. And I've been in them. They got yurts up there in Red River, New Mexico, ski resort. So you can spend the night nice and warm and toasty in a yurt or a teepee and be out skiing the next day. Not exactly.
I can take the same concept, Clay, and go to some places got old, repoed, or brought in double wides or single wides, and put 5 of them on your 5 acres or 8 of them or whatever you need, and set the thing up and get it going. It can be what you desire for your area. It just, we have to, the key to it is walking away from government control.
Exactly. And it ain't easy, folks. I mean, this isn't something that, otherwise, I mean, there's a woman in Florida that has lived up to everything I stated, and the city came in and condemned her house because she wasn't tied to the electric lines. She'll beat it, because there are people out there that do care. Their organization, we do have lawyers that will take a case like that if we can do it. But they tried to close her down just because she was running off of the grid. She was all running off solar. She was catching the rainwater. Now, they pass laws to keep you from catching the rainwater in Colorado, but you can still catch the rainwater in Texas, can't you?
Well, they just arrested a guy in Dale, which is about 18 miles from me, for doing just that.
Catching the rainwater?
Yeah.
When did they pass a law in Texas that you couldn't catch the water on your roof?
There is no law. I don't think it'll stick, but they still arrested him. It's we're in a very small window, and if we can get this done, it will turn the tide for a while. I don't, like you said, Armageddon's been going on a long time, and the world does not have a chance to succeed as it is. But I think we're allowed a couple more victories before he comes to end it.
Well, this was interesting. Now,
rise here.
Jake, in one of my magazines, you got the story about a guy that wanted to do something very similar to what I'm proposing, but he wanted to do them in a bigger house. He didn't want to use teepees. He wanted to. His vision was to create a self-sufficient home that had a garden on the roof, got solar on the roof, got a cistern in the basement, and it would be totally self-sufficient. He wanted to do a whole village. Beg your pardon?
If everybody would do this, we would take a portion of this land back for our own.
Well, I thought it was a good idea, so I gave him the cover of one of my magazines. I promoted him. And then I called him and he didn't respond. He didn't respond. And I said, well, I sent him a text. And I said, what's going on here? Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? What's going on here? And he responded. He said, I'm fine, but down the rabbit hole. Cannot phone you as you have followers. I said, should I take you off my site? Stop talking about you? He said, I'm deeply sorry, my friend, but yes, they are just too powerful.
Yep.
And I responded, I said, no. I'm a reporter and I cannot be intimidated. Sorry you could. I will report on that, and thank God I did not get into business with a coward.
Right?
I don't know how to tell it any other way but straight. You know, and I still don't know what happened. I don't know if he was threatened. I don't know if he was afraid I was going to get too big a chunk by promoting him or by supporting him or by working with him. And I told him, I said, this is fine. You can build those villages, but you need my Liberty Village concept with these teepees to provide shelter for the veterans that you want to build your houses. You know, you can roll up, you can do a roving, you can build these houses and do a nice little town so it looks like the old time towns, totally self-sufficient. Got a shop on the bottom, got your office on the bottom floor, your home on the second floor, your garden on the third floor, covered by solar panels that'll keep off most of your chemtrails and gather the water. And you can set up the teepees over there overnight and have a home for your veterans that are building the thing.
Amen.
It would have worked hand in hand, but they're just too powerful. So somebody threatened him, and they've done this to me a half a dozen times. They've done it to you. They'll go to your suppliers, your workers. Hey, you don't want to work for him. You know, he's not a good guy, man. He's a, we don't like him, and you're really going to have a lot of trouble if you're supporting him, if you're backing him. So this is the way they work. And he fell victim to it. You know, I had one of my magazines sold for $500,000, and I would have had plenty of money to do this Liberty Village concept all across the country. But he was threatened. He was threatened. And that whole story is in one of my magazines.
Clay, we're trying to come up right now. It's terribly insidious. It's everywhere. We're trying to come up with right now $600 for a scholarship for one of our graduates from our school. She came to us in terrible shape emotionally. She didn't want to go on. She didn't want to continue school, and she, in long story short, she went ahead and graduated as an honor student, and now wants to go to a college nearby. Who had been not only accepting our graduates, and by the way, have a couple of our graduates from Yoakum School working in the administration department of their school, but all of a sudden her diploma is no longer acceptable for government loan help. So a loan she had was already approved, she's already enrolled and going there, and now has told us, well, they rescinded that and told her she could not have that help anymore because Providence Christian Academy Little Red Schoolhouse is not state certified, so they're not going to give her the help. So we're trying to raise $600 to scholarship her and tell them to take a hike anyway. But that's the way they get at you. Now, even though we have had all of our graduates go to college that wanted to and take the entrance exam and forget whether we're approved by the state or not, but we actually teach them, they were accepted all over the place. But now they're beginning to attack us there and saying, okay, we accept the diploma, but we no longer can get aid because it's not a certified state diploma.
Well, this is, and again, the Bible tells us this. The Bible tells us that we're in a war. It's a war of principalities.
Amen.
And this is evil. I mean, what does it take for you to recognize the good from evil, folks? These are maybe institutions that are accredited or, approved by the government, but they're approved for their control. They're not approved because they are empowering you. They are approved because they are enslaving you.
Amen.
And you got the people like me out there, you might as well, call me a rebel. Call me a redneck. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, you're a rebel and a redneck. What else you want?
But, it is, I really wish people could understand that I didn't start the militia to take over the world. I started the militia to protect the children around me. I started the militia to protect the children. I helped you start the Little Red Schoolhouse and Timothy Bible College for the children. Not my children. My children are grown. My children are doing fine. My children are away. One of them on one coast, one of them up in the mountains somewhere. I did it for your children. I did it for your grandchildren.
In this country.
I believe in this country. I took an oath to defend the Constitution. The Constitution may not be perfect, but it's the best we've created in over 200 years. It's right up there with the Magna Carta. And it's what we got. It's as Benjamin Franklin told you. He was asked, what form of government have you wrought for us, Mr. Franklin? He said, a constitutional republic, ma'am, if you can keep it.
Amen.
I want to keep it. And that's why Jake is doing what he's doing. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why we got the Free American website. Hey, go into Office Depot and try to pull up the Free American on your portable computer, or on your iPad, or on your iPod. Try to do that. See what we're up against. I just had a company call. Now, I've got this Isonogenics. It's a product somebody paid to bring me into the subject so we could tell people about it. Another multi-level thing. And I'm checking the products out. I got snacks here by Isonogenics. Got all kinds of nutrition on it. Got 1% sodium, 1% potassium. That's just that's just one of their products. And so I went to their website. I signed up for it, and you got the links. You got my number up there on the website. And I got a call from their compliance department. They said, you need to fill out this application so we can approve your ads. So you can approve my ads. Okay. I'll fill out the application. And then I called back and I said, have you approved the application? And I read the whole thing, and I put up the details here. That this is an independent distributor. That they got no other connection with me. What do they call that? They call that it's the fine print. It's basically the fine print, whatever they call that. I added all that up there. This website is owned and operated by an Isogenics independent associate and is not endorsed by Isogenics International. Any opinions expressed on this website are made by and the responsibility of the individual associate and should not be construed as a representation of the opinions of Isogenics International. I read that and I added that. I added that to my website, and everything else on there are pictures that I took from their website. And I called them up and asked them if they'd been approved, and they said, well, we couldn't get to your website. We couldn't go to your website to approve it. Oh, you must have that service that's trying to tell you that I'm a porno site, and so they don't want you to go to my site. Like they got at Office Depot, like they got at Intel, like they got at Intuit, and like they got at the public libraries. Well, tell you what. I put all your disclaimers up there. Every photograph I've got up there, every banner I've got up there came from your site. I don't need your permission. And if you don't want me to put my ads up since I'm an independent dealer, sue me. How about that? Love to do a countersuit on that. You guys just do whatever you think's right. But I'm not waiting for your permission to do anything. It's already done. 2-year standards. 2-year standards. And got their little logo up there, Isogenics, independent associate. The poor woman that's in charge of compliance might be looking for another job here pretty soon. But that's what we have to do, folks. Jake didn't quit when they tried to kill him, when they tried to steal his college. I didn't quit when they canceled a $500,000 contract that I had in my pocket. I didn't quit.
Tried to kill you on your motorcycle.
Tried to kill me on a motorcycle. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe running up a $750,000 hospital bill for 3 broken ribs. Maybe that just happens to everybody. Maybe being drugged into oblivion for 3 months and having no memory of 3 months out of my life. Maybe that's just standard danger of riding a motorcycle. And by the way, no, I still don't wear a helmet. Didn't have one on when I had the accident. Still don't have one. I remember going to the medical examiner in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was doing an interview with him, and I said, "What's that rack over there with all those helmets? What's all that about?" He said, "Oh, most of those helmets, full face helmets, most of those came in there with the head still in them." You can wear one if you want, folks. I won't. Thank you anyway. But
control EQ.
Yeah, it is about control. And that's why I left Texas 45 years ago anyway. They passed a helmet law here. I went to Arizona. I don't wear a helmet.
I think they took it back off, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't have to wear a helmet here now. So they could. Yeah, I've been in exile for 45 years. I'm glad to be back because I got you for a neighbor now.
You bet.
And let's talk about Timothy Bible College. How can people help here? Tell some people what can we do? What can you get a bachelor's degree for? What can you graduate high school? There's got to be a lot of people out there that's like me that dropped out of high school. I went and got my GED.
If they are over 15 years of age, they're not only looking at a possibility. We had a 16-year-old girl that graduated in shy of 7 weeks. It depends on how much they want to apply. Most of it's done at their own pace at home. We have Skype classes. If they're local enough, they can come and visit and get for classes one-on-one. But you're looking at the possibility of getting the diploma for a bit of hard work, anywhere from 6 months to a year, or maybe like the little girl, 6 weeks, but for $400 if they do it in a short time. That's the whole course. And with pastors and teachers and so forth, it's in that same bailiwick. We're not trying to hamper the future of those people by charging them a lot of money. We're trying to prepare people for life and hopefully get some teachers out there that tell the truth. When you get into the higher degrees or some of the technical stuff, of course, you're looking at more tuition, but for the most part, it's probably a quarter to a third of the more common institutions out there. We're just not out to make a dollar. We want to re-educate America and try to take it back.
Now, I was going to make a point, and I think I lost it somewhere along the line. But the colleges, I've seen videos that some film crews went in and they filmed the inside of the colleges, and they filmed the inside of colleges and prisons. And many of the college, they were the same. You couldn't tell the difference. They had the same type of controls, the same kind of cameras, the same kind of rules. So going to college was like being educated and being trained for being in prison. Well,
the high schools have barbed wire that look like a penitentiary.
They have turned our schools, and this is what Sandy Hook was about, guys. This is what Columbine was about, to turn our schools into prisons and to condition your students, your children, folks, your children, to condition your children to living in a police state. Now, one of the things that I say here, and one of the things that I urge, and one of the things that I'm going to be putting in some novels that will be released this year that I started 45 years ago, is about you need to abolish all the laws against victimless crimes, tear down those fences, put up tables, let people bring all of the contraband, what's contraband now, and that just makes money for the bankers, it makes money for criminals. Quit making our children into criminals. Quit making us into criminals. And let us, if we want to buy a little bit of coca leaves from a Peruvian, let us meet him at the border and buy it from him, not from a drug dealer. I've got pictures in one of my magazines of stacks of money taken from a drug dealer's house in Mexico. Abolish all the laws.
What are you going to do with the legalized drug cartel?
I want to legalize it for the people. Then we will trade between ourselves. Let me buy some pot from a Mexican farmer. Meet me at the border.
But we need to re-educate people as to what the pharmaceutical industry is doing. They are a legalized drug cartel that are literally poisoning millions.
That's right. Well, 20 years ago, you weren't allowed to advertise pharmaceuticals. Today, when you advertise on the Super Bowl, half of the ads on the Super Bowl are for pharmaceuticals, and the last half or the first half of the commercial tell you all the contraindications. Why would you want to buy medicine, pay a doctor, and then pay a pharmacy, or have your Social Security pay for a drug that's going to kill you. And by the way,
Amen.
nobody has ever died from smoking marijuana. I was pretty excited, Jake, when we got medical marijuana in Arizona. I said, wow, the first time in 45 years, sir, first time in half a century. I may not be a criminal anymore. But turns out I was too healthy to get medical marijuana. And I said, well, you idiots, the reason I'm so healthy is because I've been smoking it for 50 years illegally. Now, we got a chance, folks. This movement here, Colorado's legalized hemp. You can grow hemp, you can grow marijuana, you can possess marijuana. They're doing the same thing in Washington. They're doing the same thing in Oregon.
Discover what's really going on in the world.
We can change things. Dr. Jake Wade, thank you.
Radio.
Thank you for being with me. God bless you. We're out of time.
TruthRadio.com. The truth is out there.
All right. We're out of time. Again, Dr. Jake Wade, thank you. Bye-bye.
My name is Dr. Jake.